Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no coping. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, this is a friendly reminder that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We may not even be that entertaining at times, but this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor, check with your healthcare professionals before making any lifestyle changes or medicine changes. What we're talking about is our clinical experience and what we've seen. And so if you really want our advice, you can consult us. You can actually consult me as a doctor, or you can consult my guest and get all your questions answered. But we can't give free medical advice because we can't pay our bills with that, but we can help to educate you a bit and allow you to think a little bit. And always reach out to your medical professional before making any lifestyle changes. Thank you. Oh boy, it's November. Guess what? Christmas is coming up, the holidays. Oh boy, this is the tough month, right? So, some of us might have got knocked off track a little bit on Halloween, but let's be as good as we can this month. Try to enjoy yourself, enjoy some Simply Snacking. They're hosting this podcast. So, try out the beef and chicken flavors. It's a great option for you to have if you're traveling to see family. It'll keep you sane in the airport and you won't have to eat the airport food. So do what I do, have some Simply Snacking, beef and chicken, tons of flavors. Go to their website, check them out. And thank you for listening. Hello and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast. Now, I got a guy here today that could crush me in half right now, so I'm going to try to be cool and a decent host here. Eliot Marshall, awesome, man. Thanks. Your people actually reached out to me. I've never, ever had someone that, people reach out and go, hey, this would be a good guest for you. Usually I look, I'm like, okay, they're doing this, they're doing crazy stuff. But I looked at your TED Talk and, your experience in MMA, and we'll go through all that. I love your book, The Gospel of Fire. So Eliot, welcome. It's good to have you, man.
Brian, thanks, man. The crush in half piece, I don't know about it anymore these days. I'm getting older, my body's hurting. So, but maybe when I was a younger man.
Well, that was the one thing I didn't like about your TED Talk. I'll have to call you out right away. It's like, you go, hey, I'm getting older, I'm 40. I was like, wait a minute, I'm 53.
I didn't say old. I didn't say old. I just said older. But look, Brian, there's only two options in this game. It's either get old or die young.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's probably true.
Only two options.
Yeah. And that's true in your game. I mean, that's I'll tell you, MMA, I've been a huge fan just because, the thing I love is you guys go out there and beat the living crap out of each other. And at the end, there's generally a respect where guys will hug each other. I'm like, wait, you guys just tried to kill each other. And then there's this, I think you guys all know what you're going through. What's the mindset?
Fighting has nothing to do with the other person. Fighting is 100% about you and what you're dealing with and what you're going through and getting yourself to show up as the best possible that you can. Now, look, you need this other person, okay? Because the other person is the adversary, yes, that you have to overcome. But really, the only thing that you're really overcoming is making the walk into the cage, right? And you can see it. It's a quote that I live by. It's over my right shoulder here. It's making the walk into the arena of your life, which can be so, so difficult, right? And we saw this with COVID and with so many other things that people aren't making that walk so much, right? Like they're just living this life. It's a Thoreau quote, most men live lives of quiet desperation, where they've given up on themselves, right? They've given up on themselves in some way, and men in the sense of mankind, right? And that's really sad. And that's really what fighting is about. Can I be so scared? Can I be petrified? Can I be feeling whatever it is I'm feeling and still walk into the cage, get over that fear, and go fight?
Yeah, and that's the thing is walking into the, I wrestled in high school, played football. Football, I could be anonymous for the most part. Wrestling, it's you, man. You screwed up, it's on you. BJJ, like you're doing, it's you. You can't say, well, this guy didn't train me hard on this. it's you out there on the mat, and it's you going against that opponent, and then having to step
Mhm.
into the ring. And I think so many times look across at the guy and go, oh man, this guy's undefeated, and he's got, all these things going for him. It's hard. How do you mentally not?
Even if he's not undefeated, right? Even if it's you standing across the cage from me when I was 20, you now and I'm 25. You look across the cage and your mind starts to play tricks on you. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. Man, look, he's got gray hair. God, he must have so much experience. He's still fighting with all that gray hair. Holy shit. He must have and that's a lie, right? Like that like it could be a lie. Maybe he is all those things, but it could be a lie. You don't know that. And that's you being in the future. That's not you being in the present moment. What I know right now is that I'm standing here in this cage and I'm going to have to go do these things. That's your mind making you think about the other person. When again, this is about you. What does Eliot have to do right now? When it comes to a fight, when it comes to being a dad, when it comes to being a husband, when it comes to being a businessman, whatever it is, what does Eliot have to do right now? Because this is really the only moment we have, is now. Okay, we can't get away from it. There's nothing we can do to make it leave or we can't get our time back. That's for sure. If we can figure that one out, holy shit, and then for sure, a lot of times when you talk about things like anxiety, it's this worry about the future, right? What is to come? The future is going to come. Whether you like it, I like it, whether I'm here or you're here, it doesn't matter. 21, 22, the year 21, 22, it's going to come. And you and I are not going to be there. Like, that's just what it is. And so just back that logic up. So, so why would we worry about 21, 22? Well, we don't really, do you? Do you worry about the year 21, 22?
No, not worry about it.
But it's not even possible for you to be. So why worry about an hour? Why worry about the event that's in an hour? How about I focus? It's 8:08 in my time. I'm sitting here on a podcast with Brian. Man, let me do this podcast the best that I possibly can.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Stepping in, like you said, a lot of people, and I think that's an important thing. Just don't step into the ring. I watched during, COVID, a lot of doctors just kind of went into hiding. They weren't seeing patients. They were just taking phone calls, and they just phoned it in. That their fear got to them, and they lost that ability to care for the patient. Go, hey, I'm gonna go into the ring and do what I can do to help people. And guys like you who step into the ring despite the fear and the anxiety, just to do what you can.
Just choose a path. Choose a path in your life, and then don't dip your toe in the water to see if it's cold or not. That's the pool I'm going to swim in. All right, got it. What's the temperature? No, man, just jump in the pool. Oh, I can't swim. Shit, I guess you're going to have to learn how to swim while you're in the pool. So just jump in,
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the mindset. And do you think it's bravado? Like a guy like Tyson, when he was knocking everyone out, walking the ring, and he knew he was the baddest dude around. Do you think he had doubts, or do you think he's like, I'm just
Have
like
you ever
some
listened
guys?
to him talk about it?
No, I haven't actually.
He's petrified.
Yeah, actually, I heard him talk about that, having being fearful going in, and
he talks about making the walk from the back to here, how scared he is.
Yeah,
he had doubts.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's amazing how that is, because anyone from the outside looking go, okay, this guy's just gonna. And then once he got knocked out, then the doubts sink in even more. I mean, a guy like you who just probably crushed kids growing up, you started like when you were 6 doing this kind of stuff, right? And your whole life is dedicated to it. Like, you still have fear going into the ring.
Well, yeah, because my whole thing was built on fear. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't fighting for fame and money. I was fighting for acceptance in the world because of my background and why it is that I started fighting.
Yeah, tell people your background that don't know.
Yeah, so I grew up in South Jersey, and my dad's African American, and my mom is Jewish and the survivor of Holocaust, and the child of Holocaust survivors. So you got to remember, this is 1980 now in this little podunk town in South Jersey. So this wasn't the most kosher thing in the world. Like there weren't a lot of people like this. When we moved to this town that we lived in, they spray painted, they vandalized our house all the time. Our house was constantly getting vandalized. The first time You know, they wrote Nigers go home and they had swastikas all over it. And I said Nigers on purpose because they spelled it wrong. You know,
That
they
shows the
got it
intelligence level. Yeah.
right. They got it right after that. You know, the multiple times that it happened again, you know,
Man.
they tend to get it right. So that sucked. And look, my grandparents and my dad, they just had a lot of fear in the world, you know, and like, because you have to remember, if I was born in 80, you know, my dad was 30. So back that up, 1950s, right? He was born in 1958. So we're still going through civil rights. You know, my dad's going places where he can't drink the same water, and, you know, schools can be segregated at places. So that, you know, that's his experience. And the Holocaust, I mean, do we got to do this? Like, I mean, we don't have to still explain the atrocities of that and the fear that every single person who survived that carried on for the rest of their life. My Baba, it's my grandmother, she never slept again, right? She slept like 3 hours a night after the Holocaust. So
yeah, and Elliot, I'll tell you just along those lines is there's
yeah.
actually studies showing that this sense of anxiety and fear got passed from generation to
Mm-hmm,
generation. It opened up a
mm-hmm.
genetic window, and so this fear, and then you know, there's studies on this, and it's really really amazing how we could pass those things along to our next generation, the curse of
Whatever
generations.
got passed, I have it. So,
Yeah, and
you
you got
know,
that, and you got it on both sides. And I mean, growing up like
yeah,
that, and you're like, okay, and it's hard because you go, okay, I don't all the way fit in this side of the equation on that side, and it's a really hard play. I mean, when I was a kid, my parents were divorced, and back then no one was divorced, so I was like, oh my gosh, my
right,
parents are. It's kind of weird. You go to, you know, parent night, and your parents aren't together, and it was a weird thing. Now it's just normal to be like that.
sure. Yeah, so it's very odd not being accepted, you know, and it's very fearful to not be accepted. And I was not accepted. Like, I had no friends. I had two friends, and neither one of them went to my school. So I was just alone all the time. I was literally alone all day at school.
Why
Nobody
do you think
walked the
that?
halls.
Do you think that's because of anxiety and you just weren't outgoing, or
No,
why do you think that was? Do you think people judged you? Why was it that
well,
you were on your own?
I was being judged for who my parents were and who I was, you know, and I tried too hard. Like, once I could see that it wasn't happening, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go make a friend, and it just, you know, like it just didn't work. Like, I was just, look, I could go to a kid's house, but I wasn't allowed inside. I could, you know, like, he'd have to go get the water and bring it outside. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't allowed to go in the house because of who I was and what my parents were. So this was my life, you
Yeah,
know.
you know, it's crazy. It's funny when you say that because my cousin was friends with Tony Hawk, the
Okay,
skateboarder, and my grandma German is like, you know what? That guy can't come in. He looks shady. I don't trust this kid. She wouldn't let him in the house. We're like, my grandma wouldn't let Tony Hawk in the house, and the guy was a pretty decent guy.
that's
It turns out.
hilarious.
But you know,
I
but
mean,
being treated like that, how do you not have a chip on your shoulder or a bitterness and go, look, what these guys did? How do you not
I
extrapolate
had
that to the rest of the
fear on my
population?
shoulder. No, I had fear. Yeah, so I had fear on my shoulder. That's what I had. I had this burning desire just to be loved, because my grandparents were telling me that if you, that Hitler was for sure going to come again, like that was a guarantee. And if not himself personally, but another Hitler, right?
Hmm.
And if you want to be safe, you're going to, one, need money, okay, and two, you're going to need friends to hide you and help you. And so I didn't have any money. I was a fucking kid, right? You know, and
Yeah.
then two, I had no friends. So when Hitler comes again and I'm going to have my life saved, what am I going to do? Right. So I have no safety in the world. None. Zero. I was doing martial arts. I was doing karate this whole time. And that's the one place that I was accepted. So the one place that I could get some was there.
And
In the
what made you
summer,
start? What made you start?
the,
Like you just
the
go, I'm
Karate
gonna go
Kid.
buy. Oh,
No,
really?
no, the Karate Kid. When I was 6 years old, I saw him do the crane kick, and then you know, and then I did it. And I kicked the lamp, and then my parents put me in karate,
That's great, man.
and I loved it, and I loved it, and, you know.
Yeah, and you had something you could focus your energy on,
Mhm.
and you know, and that probably kept you on the straight and narrow for the most part.
Yeah, and it gave me a place to be loved and accepted, because it did nothing else mattered other than if you could do it well.
And how was it mentally going through all that? Like when you know, with coaches and people training you if you lost or won, or you know, what did that do to you?
Look, there really wasn't a lot of that. It was karate. It was forms and katas, and it's not what you. It's not like there wasn't a lot of competition. I did tournaments for sure. I did tournaments and I did well at tournaments. So that was cool. So that's, like, so I started winning at it a little bit, twice a year, 3 times a year, maybe. And then you're like, oh, damn, okay, I can do this. And then I always said when I was a kid, I was going to have a karate school when I grew up. I was going to do this for a living. And so there it was, it was just like, oh, Elliot's going to do this. Okay, cool. And then there was a moment though. There was a moment where, and this is where I connect it back to fighting. Again, I have no friends, right? In high school. It's the summer in between my junior and senior year. And some of the guys I was doing karate with, who I'm still friends with today, it's kind of cool. They started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they showed me a little bit. And, I don't know, 3 months of training in the summertime. So I go back to school and I'm talking about it. And these wrestlers hear me talking about it because it's like wrestling, right? And they're good wrestlers, state champs, and they challenge me. And I beat them. And then all of a sudden, like it was like clockwork. Okay, hold on. I did lose some weight. I had I was like a chunky late bloomer. So in between that summer, I got lean too, so everything kind of worked out, if I'm being totally honest, right? Like I start looking a little better. And then I beat these kids up, didn't beat them up. We didn't punch ourselves. We didn't punch or anything. But then everyone's like, yo, shit, you hear about that? And they started to be my friend. A girl kisses me. Oh, fuck. Oh, my Lord. It's the first time a girl other than my mom gave me a kiss, right? Like, you're like,
Yeah.
yo, so now look, I connect my safety, having friends, being hidden from Hitler when Hitler comes, with fighting. So just fast forward that all the way through. When I'm fighting, man, yeah, sure, the money's cool. Like if I can make millions, that would be really great. Yay, but I'm not fighting for that. I'm fighting to be safe in the world. And that's not a good place to fight from.
Yeah, he wanted security. And it's like,
yeah, that's not, yeah.
I went into medicine for security. I could make a lot more money doing other stuff. But sometimes you find your path and you go, okay, this is my path forward, and for you, that was your path.
Mm-hmm. It was my path, but I didn't fight very well. And I know you're just like, dude, you fought in the UFC. What are you talking about? Like, so this is true. I fought in the UFC, but my greatest ability, how I trained, never came out because I was too scared to lose, right? My mindset and my fear, even though I could walk and even though I did, and I did it, but I didn't deal with all of this trauma that I had from my past, from my childhood. I didn't deal with all of that. And I didn't deal with this anxiety. And I had been experiencing anxiety the whole time through, right? Ever since I was about 8 years old. This is the first time I can remember. And I don't know, a week ago was the last time that I can remember. So, I have, it's something that I experienced, but I never dealt with it before. I just, looked to the sky and wished it to go away. And then it always goes away. It never stays. Whether it lasts a day, an hour, a week, 9 months, So
yeah, and wasn't it when you stepped into the ring? It's like when I played football or wrestle, it was like I just want to get in there and do this thing because you're like that
goes away.
That nerves before, and once you're in there, you're in the battle now.
It's gone. Yeah, it immediately leaves. You have no time to be nervous. You immediately leave. But still, this mental health crisis that we're all having. We need to talk about it in a way, we need to, one, I think, use the right words surrounding it, and then two, talk about the ways out, the ways out of it, not so, and that's, something that's really important to me because,
well, and a guy like you,
struggler.
Guys we're built in a way where we handle our struggles, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You take care of this. You're not a man if you need to talk. And so your TED Talk spoke to me from that standpoint of, first of all, getting beat and having fear in a fight, being a coward, like you said, like not wanting to get up. I'm done with this. And then coming back beating the heck out of someone and then not getting the decision, you know,
Mhm.
and that's hard. That's a hard thing. That's one of the things I just, that's one thing I can't stand about, Olympic, like the Olympic skaters or whatever. And they go, okay, that's a 10 and this is a 4. Like, it's so subjective sometimes, and something like that, you go out there and you give your best and the judges decide on the guy who really didn't win. And that's a tough one.
So, it's a game. When it comes down to it, it's a competition. That's not tough. I heard Deion Sanders saying this the other day. No, it's tough. A single mom, the husband left. She's got 3 kids. She's got to work 3 jobs. She's wondering how she's going to put food on the table. Living in the South Side of Chicago with all that crime and gunfire, that's tough. Living in sub-Saharan Africa, where there's no running water, that's tough. This is a game, man. This is a thing we play. So if we can put the right perspective around it, yeah, sure, it sucked. Like, I'm not going to deny it. It sucked when in my last fight, when I beat the shit out of that dude, and they said he won, his arm can't work, his blood dripping from his face, it sucked. Sure.
Yeah, but that motivated you on to do other stuff, and so tell people about, let's talk a bit about the anxiety and the fear and how that gripped you. And you had fear your wife's going to leave you and, your whole family's going to fall apart.
Yeah. So my career ends. That last fight happens. I lose, my career ends, and I go right into buying into the small jiu-jitsu schools that my business partner had. And he was my jiu-jitsu coach at the time, and making them bigger. So we do that and we're successful. Works out great. My life is amazing. I have 2 great kids, married, nice house, all the things, all the things that you look at and judge success on. Right. And then I get home from a vacation in Maui and I crumble, just wrecked with anxiety, can't sleep 5 nights straight, just up, panicking, panic attack after panic attack. And look, this has happened before, but it lasts like a night or 2. I'm on the internet Googling how long you can go without sleep, Googling what medicines I can take. And then, oh shit, I'm going to end up like Michael Jackson, overdosing on sleep meds and Heath Ledger. Right. And man, this is not the rabbit hole to go down, when you're already going. But I was going. This lasted 9 months, not every night, but this period, this really, really intense period lasted 9 months, and it was hell.
Do you think there was a trigger or it just came out of the blue?
Look, the trigger, was there any particular? Yeah, the trigger was jet lag.
Yeah.
But that's how anxiety works, right? Like, whatever. I was in Maui and I was flying back. So you got a 4-hour time difference. Your sleep's always messed up. But the way anxiety works is I like to call it the devil. The devil finds something that is actually happening, and he puts his hook in that hole, and it grabs on, and then it just makes your mind it starts tricking your mind, just like my mind would play a trick on me when I was fighting. Oh my God, his gray hair is going to make him old, and like he's smarter and da. It's not true. So this hook, some people, look, I know a lot of people, some people, it's like they get a headache and all of a sudden they have brain cancer and they go down this rabbit hole of brain cancer. Mine is sleep, like, and it still is. I still deal with it. So I'm never gonna sleep again. Come on. And just like how I talked about Eliot, go make a friend. Eliot, go make a friend. How did that work for me? It went terrible. You're trying so hard to make a friend. How about you try to sleep? Give that a try. Look, put your head down on the pillow and go sleep, 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 sleep. See how that goes.
Yeah, it's so debilitating. And for me, I see it. And here's the problem is when you're sleep, and I see this in my patients. I have continuous glucose monitors on patients. They don't sleep and they're stressed. Sugars are crazy. Everything gets screwed up. And then your mood gets screwed up.
Through the roof.
Yeah, cortisol through the roof. Your stress hormones your testosterone gets screwed. Everything gets screwed up. And so people get into this cycle. And then, one of the other killers, and I don't know if you struggle with this, but a lot of my patients, and there's actually Huberman podcast does a great job talking about alcohol, where people were stressed during COVID, they were locked down, they start drinking more, then they can't sleep, then they're more stressed the next day, and they kept getting more and more stressed, and they were drinking more and more alcohol trying to calm the nerves, and then it got worse because their sleep got worse, and they got into this spiral until they started cutting back the alcohol. Then the stress and the sleep started getting better. But it's hard when you're laying there and you just can't sleep.
But then you have to deal with the stress, right?
Mhm.
If like you have to deal with the feelings, and this is a word that men particularly hate. My feelings. How do I feel? And we feel a certain way because you have a need, a human need, whatever your needs are, that isn't getting met. That's why you feel a certain way,
Well, and that's
Uh,
why anxiety and fear are so bad when you can't put your finger on it and go, I'm stressed because the business is under control. There's nothing you put your finger on that's going to make it better. And you go, okay, if I just fix this problem, then it gets better. We want to have fixes right away.
yeah, I didn't lose one night of sleep during COVID. And I had 7 schools, 7 buildings, 150 employees, 5,000 students. I didn't lose one night of sleep.
Yeah, because you can. I mean, obviously, you can deal.
I
I mean,
dealt with my devil.
yeah, and
I
that's the
dealt
hard
with my devil.
part. Yeah, that's the hard part. Is like people can't see what's happening on the inside. So I see guys that seem pretty calm and collected, but I'm like, every time you come in, your blood pressure goes through the roof, your sugars are up, everything's, you're having stress. You just don't. Us guys aren't good at tuning into, like, maybe your whole life you didn't realize it was stress that was your demon, but it was just part of life. It's part of you, and you don't see it like, oh, let me just sit back and relax and take a breath and see what happens.
So it comes down to a question: what are we going to do about it?
So what did you do? How did you get out of that when you're in
Yeah,
this
look.
spiral and you can't sleep and you're stressed all the time?
So, my immediate look. So there's nobody in this world that's luckier than me. With all of my all of the things that have occurred for my life, and look, this struggle was one of them. That 5 nights of no sleep that this started with, it ended on a Friday. My doctor is one of my really good friends. Like he was my friend first. I taught his kids jiu-jitsu. So I called him and he was like, Eliot, we need to get you rest right now. So I got some sleeping meds, and he also said, we need to start a long-term anxiety medicine. He knew I've been dealing with this my whole life since, he's like, you're 36 years old. It's been 30 years of dealing with this almost. So, so we did both. I have a therapist. I see her in 3.5 hours, today, and I see her every week, and I've continued. I still take the anxiety med. I don't take the sleeping meds. I take the sleeping med like a normal person might take a sleeping med, right? You're having,
Yeah, every once in a while you got something going on. You're traveling,
yeah,
jet lag
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
exactly. But I don't consistently take sleeping meds every night. So, and then I started dealing with Eliot, these feelings that Eliot had. Now, look, I want to be super clear on the med here. I take Lexapro, and everyone thinks that from my experience, and you're the doctor, so you'll tell me if I'm wrong. But from my experience, everyone thinks that the meds like cure the anxiety. And I didn't find that. What I found was the med lowered the volume a touch. And it allowed me to then go do the work. And if you don't then go do the work, I meditate, I journal, I do things. These beads are like my neurolinguistic programming, because I breathe, I meditate, and I hold these so that when the anxiety starts to creep in, I can just touch these. Sometimes I don't have to go down this rabbit hole, right? So I have steps I fucking take, and the med lowered the volume enough for me to go do the work every single day. I read, I study Stoicism, I study Buddhism, which are a lot about the human soul and who you are as a human. And I've learned to just truly and wholeheartedly first love myself. I love myself. I love myself more than anybody could love me. Because if I can't do that, then how can I go out there and love anybody else? I got these 2 kids that I have to provide everything for. And if I am not okay with me, how am I going to do that for them? How
yeah.
am I
Plus
going to
your
show
wife.
them how to be strong? Yeah,
Yeah,
my wife's I have my wife, right? But I can't make her happy, and I can't provide much for her. I can provide the basic shit, I can provide connection, right? And that's my job with her, with my wife. That's how I see my wife,
how was she
and
when
that's
you
how
were
she,
having all this, when you're battling anxiety, not sleeping, and all this kind of stuff?
we
It's
had
a,
2 young kids. We had a
Yeah, it's
baby.
brutal, man.
So it was brutal. So she couldn't really help me too much, right? Because we have these young children. We have these young children, and man, it was, so I couldn't really lean on her. I would not, I would take, so this was like for, I don't know, like a month straight, every single night I would take these sleeping pills, and look, this is how bad the anxiety was. I could take half a milligram of Halcyon and a full milligram of Xanax. And there was nights when I could stay awake through that shit.
Yeah, it's
So
horrible. I
that's
mean, that's
intense.
like you said, like Michael Jackson, he was giving himself propofol to
Yeah.
sleep. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, I mean, you see how dramatic people just don't get how debilitating not sleeping is. I mean, as a matter of fact,
Mm.
just talking with you, it kind of gave me, I had one day, I'm a very upbeat person. I do have mental illness in my family, but never do I have depression. One day I was in residency and I was up for 3 days. I was exhausted. I had paperwork. I had all this stuff. And it was like, this is depression. I felt it. I'm like, you have no hope. I mean, that one day, just a few hours, maybe I had it. And I was like, man,
There's no snap out of it. There's no
yeah.
get it together. There's no, that's not the answer. Come on, man, you can do it. No, there's things you have to do.
Well, that's
There's
how
steps you have to do.
yeah, and that's how I explain it to patients too, or people will say, look, they're like the partner doesn't get it a lot of the time. They're out there panicking. Like when you're in that
Mm-hmm.
mode, people are, hey, just relax. It's okay. It's like you're drowning in the middle of the ocean and people are telling you to calm down. It's like, hey, throw me a life raft. And that's what Lexapro was for you. And for many of my patients too, Lexapro has worked great. And then new studies are coming out saying, well, maybe the SSRI class isn't doing, there was a lot of fraudulent data and a lot of bad stuff, but I saw enough people respond and were
I
especially with
don't give a rat.
anxiety.
So it works for me.
Yeah, if it works for you, I don't care what it is, right? As long as it's working, you can say what you can call it a placebo effect. I
You
don't
need
care
to
what you
prescribe
call it.
somebody another med, fine, whatever. Fuck it. Don't care. For me, it works.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
For
that's
me,
it.
it
And you go,
works.
that's it, and figure out what works for you, right? And how you get back on track, and then when you can hold on to a life raft, then your panic goes down a little bit. And you can kind of start, like you said, you lower it that little bit, then you can start being reasonable. If you're totally panicked, if you're and that's what so many people got grit by fear, where they couldn't think and go, okay, let me look at the numbers and the odds and everything else. They just said, if I get COVID, I'm going to die. Well, let's look at the numbers and you can kind of realize, okay, if I'm, under 80 years old,
Yeah,
my
but
chance
we
of
got
survival is pretty dang good.
pretty good, right? So, but the problem was in the beginning, right? Like when we're just going to talk about the fear side of it. The problem was in the beginning, we didn't know. You did think you didn't know if you were going to die or not,
Mm-hmm.
right? None of us knew, right? Like, so you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Oh, I'm going to die. And then once that hooks you, right? That's the hook. It's not true, right? It's not true. But you still have people wearing gas masks in the grocery store because they're so scared still.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think you said sometimes at some point you have to step into the ring. You get through your fear, you step in and go, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with this. What do we do? Like you can't just shut society down, and
Right.
like you.
And
I
look,
mean,
if you are one of those people that is compromised, please stay home and be safe. Right. Like, yeah, sure. I get it. Like tell us. This is how I see it. Right. Like, I was in California the other week, actually, and I was sitting outside at a restaurant. I was 6 feet away. I'm not intentionally 6 feet away. I was just 6 feet away, you know? And I'm waiting for my food, playing chess on my phone. And somebody, the person, the group of people, one of the guys comes up to me and goes, "Can you not do that?" And I was like, "Not do what?" He was like, "Cough." I was like, "Huh?" He was like, "Yeah, cough." I was like, "What are you talking about, man?" He's like, "You coughed." I was like, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna cough. Happens." Right. I wasn't like, I like
yeah. That's
cleared my
wow.
throat,
Can you
you
not
know?
do that? Can you not sneeze?
No, he did. Yeah.
I
Yeah. And I
can't
was
help
like,
it.
he's like, the people I'm with are immune compromised. And I'm like, I don't have COVID, and
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be okay. Now, look, if those people, and if they're so immune compromised whatever, if that's their case, then man, call us, call somebody. I'll wear 10 masks and bring the food to you. Right. Like that's what we need to do as a society. Right. Like if
totally.
somebody's that, but you can't go out. Right. Like we can't shut society down because you are immune compromised. Like I agree that sucks, but we got to
Yeah,
get going.
yeah, or
We got
yeah.
to be moving here. you know?
Yeah. Or yeah. I mean, I get it. I see people and it's like there's a fear, like people have a fear, and it's weird. What's always strikes me is when I have patients who come in, I have this patient, they came in from Arizona and they're like, what lockdown? Like we never, like in their town, they go, never happened. But I have patients
Yeah.
still in San Francisco right now. They're like, oh yeah, you don't go outside without a mask. If you do, oh my gosh, you're gonna get yelled at. It's gonna be brutal. Like, well, what's the difference a few miles away? You know what I mean? The way we handle it is so different in different parts of the country. It's just wild. But the point is, and I don't
Fear.
judge people who wear masks, but there's a
No,
fear, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're so fearful, and you go, okay, have you looked at the data and looked at the numbers?
it doesn't matter. We're in a very weird
It's not
spot where
logical.
data.
Yeah, fear is not logical. Just like when you have your anxiety, it's not you can't say, okay, everything's going okay in life. I got money, and my kids are safe, and and you can't logically get yourself out of fear or anxiety.
Yeah, you can't. If you believe it, then you believe it. I don't know what to say, right? Like, I mean, it's we're in a very interesting time with numbers and data. First of all, right? Like, uh, you know, we can you
I'm a
don't lose
doctor.
election.
You don't have to tell me. I'm looking at the numbers,
Yeah,
going, "Wow, this is kind of wild." But so
but in all senses of life, right? Like you don't lose an election anymore. The election was rigged, right? Like nobody loses anymore.
well, no
They
one.
stole it.
Well, and I think that's the thing is like the ultimate of personal responsibility is a one-on-one sport, a combat sport where
Mm.
you lose just because you didn't see what that was coming, or you didn't
Yeah.
train hard enough, whatever it is, you didn't sleep well, you're
That
too
fight that
stressed.
I lost, that fight, right? Like I won it. Like you won't convince me that I got beat up in that fight, but on my record, it says L, and that's all that matters, right? I have to deal with that. I had to go move on, because that's just what it said. I can't do anything about that.
Well, and with your heritage, you grew up, life wasn't fair from the beginning. So you go, okay, life's not fair. How do I deal myself the best cards I can in this unfair
Mm-hmm.
match? Like when that the judges are going to give that guy one extra point, you go, okay, I got to beat him by 2 points now, right? Or whatever
So
it is.
sure, that's
Train
what it is.
harder.
That's what it is. But you can't do anything about fair, right? Like, and I tell my kids this all the time. Life just isn't fair. It's not fair. Like, so what do we do with it? What do you do with it as an individual? It is not fair. I agree. I 100% agree. It was not fair that they closed my business for so long. Whatever. What was I could cry and I could be like, this isn't fair, or I could deal with the rules that were placed in front of me.
Or
Okay.
challenge the
Those are
rules or do what you can do. You go, okay,
do
look,
whatever
I'm
you
not
can
gonna,
do.
some of
Man,
those
I didn't
guys.
challenge the rules. We just dealt, right? We had too many schools and we had too many people to be like, oh my God, I'm gonna try to fight against this. No, because
Yeah.
then it would bring all the attention to us. And
Yeah,
then they
it's a
would
hard
close
thing.
us.
Flying
Yeah.
under the
So
radar is a good
no.
thing, and that's
Yeah.
the thing is,
So
and I think that's the reality, like what you were talking about. So many are flying under the radar. They're like, I don't want trouble. I'm not saying anything, even if they're and I hate to draw it back into like Nazi Germany, but you go, there was a lot of good people who sat there and didn't say anything. They knew what was going on. They're like, you know what? I'm not going to lose my life and career and all this stuff, and they just were quiet, and they knew, but they didn't know. They didn't want to know.
there was no not knowing. In the beginning, they could have known and not known, but once it came for real, once the Holocaust was really going, no, everyone knew and they complied.
Yeah, and
And they
that's it.
complied.
When you comply and you let tyranny take over, that's when it's a problem. And it's a hard thing because there's certain fights you're not going to win. Like you say, if you stay open and all of county health comes and shuts all your business, takes all your money, and finds you all this, and you're like, okay, what did I accomplish by
Well, they
being
take
the
your
only
business
one?
license, and then when it comes back, you can't even open then, right? Because if they take your business license, then you have to apply for a new business license, which is a nightmare if they took it,
Yeah,
So
exactly. So you go, what
look,
fight's
just
worth fighting? You kind of weigh your odds, and I know in MMA it's like that. They go, okay, you're not going to fight this person who's going to, I mean, they set up the fights to give you some success in
mhm,
numbers so that you don't go fight the number one person right away.
right. So yeah, no, you don't. You don't take your first fight against everyone deserves a couple tomato cans, we call
Yeah, you just want to be the tomato can guy that everyone's beating up on all the time, I guess, right?
You might be. You never know. Maybe your first fight, maybe you're the tomato can. You could suck.
Yeah,
So
and
you
then
put
like you
two
said,
people that.
everyone sucks when they start. I saw you in another interview, and it was like everyone sucks when they start a sport. You got to figure it out. You're not going to be the best snowboarder the first time you try it, or you're not going to be the best, volleyball player if you've never played before. You got to learn, and you got to be able to learn. And the other thing I love that you talked about was, training these guys that you want them to beat you up sometime, because that means you taught them well.
It's my job. My job as a teacher now, right? Because that's all I am. My job is to make people better than me. That's what we're supposed to do, right? That's what we try to do as parents, and I kind of see my students as this parent-child relationship, in a sense, right? Like my job is to provide more for them than what I had. So
Yeah,
that's a responsibility I have, right?
what are the
that's
life
not-
lessons you're trying to give these guys?
And because I don't just train professional fighters, right? I have professional fighters and I have regular, you come into school and train. And the life lesson is the same for everyone. You have to take this mat, these things that we learn on this mat, and you must make your life better. Because choking each other out and arm barring each other and doing punching and kicking, whatever else we're doing, it literally doesn't matter. It literally, and one of the things that I say to them is, go home and tell your spouse about the great move that you pulled off today at jiu-jitsu and watch their reaction. They won't even listen.
I know, isn't that amazing? That's always been so amazing. Like certain areas, like some docs are like, they have a big head because they're like, you go somewhere else, no one knows who the heck you are. Like, get over yourself a little bit.
Get over yourself. So if the jiu-jitsu doesn't matter, but it matters greatly. What does it do for you? Well, it puts me in the moment. When someone's arms are around my neck and they're strangling me, I can't think about anything else. So it's teaching you that skill. That's an amazing skill to learn. How to be in the present moment. Okay. Yeah. What else does it teach? It teaches us how to deal with adversity, because someone's arm is going to get around your neck and you're going to panic, and they probably won't even be choking you the first time, and you're going to freak out and tap. Okay. So it teaches me how to learn how to stay calm in bad situations. That's really important. And one of the final things that it teaches you is, if you and I were going to train jiu-jitsu together, Brian, I can't beat you up too bad so that you can't come train tomorrow. Because if you can't train tomorrow, then I can't train tomorrow. So I have to beat you up in a way that is good for you and good for me. And when you go beat the person up over there, you have to do the same. You have to learn how to truly take care of somebody while beating them up.
Yeah,
so
and holding back and not just dominating.
Not holding back. I don't hold back, but in a way that isn't going to injure them, right? So, okay. So I have to learn how to take care of somebody. I have to learn how to deal with my own fears and anxieties and dealing with, and have to learn how, and it puts me in the present moment. So that's what jiu-jitsu is about. Okay, great. Go take that to your life.
Yeah, it's kind of like Wim Hof, or when you're in ice cold water, you're not thinking about paying your bills. You're like trying to breathe and survive.
It's just cold.
Yeah, it's just cold, right? You're just in the moment. But I think so many of us, and in life, with, like, as you call out my gray hairs here, is that
it's the privilege to get gray.
There's so many times you go, these are the good old days. You just don't realize it at the moment. Like, there's so much stuff I look back, oh man, if I would have appreciated that more, and you go, gosh, that time I had with my friend who's no longer with us, or whatever it is, so many times we're not in the moment. We're thinking, okay, as soon as I get this, I got to survive this week. Cause I know for me, it's like, I'm waiting for Friday, and then it's like, oh, it's Monday again. What happened? Like, the time goes so fast, and you see your kids grow up, you see, life changing, and you go, okay, I want to be in the moment and really. So as I get older, I really enjoy the time with friends or time with family or playing games, whatever it is. You just enjoy the moment and not worry about who wins the game or whatever, to some degree.
I don't want to say I wish I would have.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want to say.
That's and I think
that doesn't mean not make mistakes. I'm going to make plenty of them. I'm going to make plenty of mistakes. So I wish I would have gone left when I should have gone right. Yeah, sure. I wouldn't have gotten knocked out, whatever, something like that. But at the end of the day, when my eyes closed for the last time and I whatever happens, which I don't know, you know, I don't want to be like, God damn, I wish I would have.
Yeah, and I think
Wish I would have tried.
look back at certain things in life. Like it's not a huge deal, but like I wrestled. And I was fairly successful, in high school,
Mhm.
but it's like, and I was like bragging to someone the other day, go, I never got pinned, right? I never got pinned ever, but I never went to the state championship either. So I lose by 2 points here and there. I was like, well, that sucks too. But to be in with the big guys and go all the way to the top, even if you lose or someone teaches you a lesson somehow, you just learn from those lessons.
Yeah,
Just moving in
that's
the
the
level of
point.
competition. Like you fighting in the MMA, it's like so many guys were like, "Oh my gosh, you've arrived!" Like you're their hero that you even made it into the MMA.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to be anybody's hero. I don't want to be anybody's guru. I don't want any of that, I just want to be I want to my goal now is to be a teacher, that's what I really, to my children, to my students, and um to show that this path of failure can get you somewhere, you know, to show that this path of failure actually can work out, because I've never really succeeded at anything I've really tried. I tried to be these world champions and I failed along the way. I was okay. I was mediocre at that. So, but that doesn't mean that you are a failure. You are a failure when you give up.
No, and it doesn't mean you can't train up that next champion, and that's your role, is training up that next person, that next, for me, it's that next doctor who may get it. They may cure cancer, whatever it is, and to have that and go, okay, it's not me. I'm not it doesn't have to be me. It's like, hey, if I can have a part in that, like you and you don't know how many people, young people especially, that the thought of suicide, of just ending it all, but they have something you said one day that's stuck in their brain and says, I'm going to get up and fight when I'm on the ground.
Look, I wrote a book, right? The Gospel of Fire, talking
Yeah, tell
about
me
my
about the Gospel of
struggle.
Fire too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to pay $25,000 for that book to get it done, and you're like, damn, that's a lot of money. And like, you start doing the math, you're like, whew, it's going to be a lot of book sales. I got to give half of it back to Amazon, like that's a lot of book sales to get that money back. And then someone wrote me an email, just that email right there. I was going to kill myself. And I read your book. And I didn't. Now I'm writing you this email. What's that worth?
Yeah, man, goosebumps. Yeah,
What's
that's
that
true.
worth?
What's it worth? Like, how many people can have that impact?
So is that worth my 25 grand that this guy is still alive and now he gets to go have an impact on the world? I might never see any more money back from that book. That book has given me an ROI in spades, more than 25,000, more than whatever I would have done with that $25,000.
Yeah, that's why I started this podcast, for guys like you to have a platform where you can say, hey, look, don't give up hope, keep the faith, don't just lay down and let everyone beat you up, stand up for yourself, or stand up, or don't give into the fear and the anxiety. And it's hard when you're struggling with it. And I think that's the power of you being able to say, look, I'm a pretty macho dude, and I struggle with these things. And so then other guys go, well, if he's a totally macho dude, then I struggle with it, then I'm okay. I'm not that macho. And
I'm not a
yeah.
macho dude. I'm not. I'm a coward at baseline. I'm not. I'm racked with fear.
Don't try to trick me into getting in the ring with you, man. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but hold on. Coward is where it starts for me, and then I have to talk myself out of that. In all of these decisions, that like a coward is where it starts, and it's still to this day. And then I just have to know that I can't act on it. Right? When the coward says hello, I have to be like, no, hold on. Is this real or not? Is this real or not? And I have to go through this process of, like, some people's baseline is anger and they fight right away, right? Like they have anger issues, that's not me. I'm the other way. So, and neither one is true, right? Neither one is true. Neither pole is true. So you have to get to the middle. You have to get to some truth.
Well, and there's an expression, I don't know exactly how it goes, but basically there's no difference between the hero and the coward with regard. They both have fear. It's just what you do with that fear. One's going to step forward, one's going to step back. One's going to give up, and one's going to say, you know what, I'm going to let the fear propel me into doing what I got to do, and trying to master that.
Again, how you feel in a moment doesn't really matter,
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said earlier, it's all perspective. You put it in life and you go, okay, the single mom who's struggling right now, or the people who are, they're like bankrupt and they got all these things, like, okay, I got it pretty good compared to them. And then there's other people you're going to look up to and go, wow, they look like they have it all together. And I'll tell you, the more I'm around, there's so many people who look like they have it together, on Twitter, Facebook, they're like, they're in Maui every week and everything's great, but then they're divorced in a week. And you go, what happened? Because it's all show. I mean, it's really the substance of who you are, and what you do and what motivates you and how you keep going. And like you said, you don't want to lay down at the last day and go, man, if only I did this, if only I would have stepped up, or if I would have said something or helped that person or whatever. Like your story that this guy, like one guy gets saved from your book. Yeah, heck yeah, that 25,000.
I don't even know him. I don't even know him.
Yeah, it's a miracle. It's
I don't know that
amazing.
guy. He just sent me an email.
That is awesome.
I don't even know him. I've never met him.
So Eliot, how do people find you first of all? And like, I have your website and all that stuff, and we'll put I'll put a link to your TED Talk and all that stuff so people can track you down and find your book on Amazon.
So my website, eliotmarshall.com. My mama made me special. So 1 L, 1 T in Eliot. And then where I respond the best to you on social media platforms is Instagram. So I'm firemarshall205 on Instagram. So those are the places where you can reach out to me and I will respond. You can't really reach out to me on my website, but all of my stuff is on my website. If you would like to connect and communicate, firemarshall205. If you DM me in any other platform, you got like a 20% chance that I'll respond.
Yeah, I know. It's honest. I don't look at any. I mean, the only one I'm really on Twitter. That's why we don't cross paths. I'm never on Instagram. My wife will probably know you and everything, but I have to spend some more time over there, I guess, man, and track you down.
I hate Twitter. I can't do Twitter anymore. I deleted it off my phone.
It's like Facebook. I never even look at it. So if anyone sent me a message on Facebook, sorry, I just don't even go in there. I don't even look.
I just look to make sure my post is right. Yeah.
All right, man. I'm gonna start
my Instagram posts.
I'm coming over to your neighborhood to check it out over at Instagram. Right. Hey, and so really, since this is life's best medicine, what's life's best medicine for you? Where is it that you find your peace? Where is it that you find meaning? Or is it that what keeps you going when things are down and you're going through this anxiety and sleep problems and everything?
Yeah. I figured out who I was, and I figured out what it means to be me. And I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm a fighter, and I'm a survivor. And I just focus on those things always. I focus on who I am. And I literally, I'm playing a 1v1 game. It's Eliot versus Eliot. It's not Eliot versus the world. When you start trying to compare yourself to the world, man, if I start trying to compare myself to you, Brian, my story's not your story. Where you started isn't where I started. So, and not that either one's wrong or good or bad or anything, but we didn't have the same starting line. So how can we be judging ourselves where we are at the finish line or anywhere along that journey? So it's a 1v1 game. Who am I? I know who I am. Go be that every day in the world and just be a little better at it every day.
Awesome, Eliot. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for joining me. And, everyone listening, there's so much wisdom. And I know people are struggling with depression, anxiety, stress, insomnia, and all that stuff. It's there's studies showing that 70 to 95% of doctors' visits are stress-related problem, whether it be heartburn, headaches, neck pain, whatever. And so that's why I focus on it. And having someone like Eliot come on and share his journey and his what he's gone through is pretty amazing. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Take a breath, chill out a little bit when you can, and enjoy those moments. Eliot, thanks, man. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information, and hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.